Hello and welcome to the Graveyard Media Podcast, episode 47 for the week of July 2nd, 2018. I'm your host as always, Saine Grey. With me is Dalsson.
I'm actually melting.
And Thel.
I feel like one of those weird, internet... I feel like what you could describe as an internet guru. I've been rewatching Wild Wild Country, so I'm sitting here with, my fucking legs crossed, and I have, my hand out like this, just resting on my leg, and the other hand I have, a mouse. I feel like I'm a political cartoon for why people shouldn't be on the internet or something. The internet guru.
I have no idea what you're talking about, so we're going to move on.
It is hot
In
Topeka.
It's hot in Topeka.
All right. Let's not move on. Let's not continue with that joke.
I am a hot toe picker.
All right. What are we moving on to?
I know you're trying to get the flag in your frame, but will you bring your camera down a little bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I wasn't actually doing that on purpose. I was already cutting it off, so it's like I don't even know why that doesn't even matter. It's already messed up, so it's whatever. Just get the fucking dirt spots I have in it. I even know how I got this. This motherfucker had never even been outside.
You know, we're actually closer to Canada's Independence Day than we are American Independence Day, so you probably should have hung a maple leaf behind you.
Yeah, well, I don't own a fucking maple leaf because I'm not a commie.
I don't know. What day is... No, Canada Day was a few days
Canada
ago,
Day
and,
is
and July 4th is
Yeah.
in 2 days, isn't it?
Canada Day is July 1st.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was
is it?
yesterday.
Although if we're going by Price is Right rules, we've already gone over. So
Also,
Yes.
none of us are Canadian.
that's
So
the
there's
important
that.
part.
You're goddamn right. None of us are Canadian.
We've already said a couple things about Canada. How do we know how hot it is in Topeka?
I thought Topeka was in Florida.
Topeka's in Canada. I think.
I thought it was in Kansas.
Where's Topeka? It's in Kansas. Kansas, Canada,
Yeah.
what's the difference?
What? Why would it be hot in Topeka if
I don't
Topeka was in fucking Canada?
Maybe
if
they
it was
were
in
like-
Kansas, that makes sense. Yeah, it's hot in
Okay,
fucking Kansas.
In my defense, though, during that scene where Blue is talking about being hot in Topeka, they're showing a picture of Florida.
All right, that's fair.
All right, yeah, okay. That's completely understandable.
In my
And
defense,
that's all of the knowledge of Topeka I have. So
All the knowledge I have is it's a city in Kansas called Topeka, Kansas. That's probably why Dalsson thought it was in Canada, because it sounds similar.
in my defense, there's a drugstore in Topeka, Kansas, named Canada.
Oh,
I don't know why I would
Yeah,
know
that-
I don't. But
you were telepathically told by a ghost about this drugstore that they like to visit every once in a while.
by a blue little Pac-Man ghost.
You were visited by like a fucking like a daughter of an oil baron ghost who lived in Kansas and talked about the Canada store that she went to all of the time. And you just thought, well, that must mean Topeka's in Canada.
The Canada store.
The Canada
Okay,
store.
well, that's enough.
So that's the
enough of that.
podcast for this week.
I'm gonna go lay inside a walk-in freezer. I'll see you guys next week.
did
Yeah,
you know
what?
the blue ghost in Pac-Man is called Inky?
Yes.
Yes.
Inky, Pinky, Blinky, and Clyde.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the normal order, but okay. I think
I'm
pretty
Blinky's
sure
I'm
that's-
pretty sure
it's
Blinky's
something.
first.
I don't know what the order of the names is.
They come in a specific order on the screen before you play the game.
Anyway, there's your Pac-Man trivia for today.
He's blue. So, okay. Should I just get started with the movies I've seen?
Yeah. Go
Okey-dokey.
do that.
So I saw 3 movies this week. One was pretty good, one was very good, and one was exceptionally bad. Like, unbelievably bad.
Give me the bad news
I'm pretty
first.
sure I know where we're
Yeah.
at, but okay.
Should I talk about the bad one first?
It's up to you.
Oh, okay. You know what? Fuck it. I was gonna go in that order, but fuck it. Let's talk about the bad one first. So, I watched a film called Gotti. It stars fucking John Travolta.
That name of the films when you were talking about them sounded like an artsy fartsy bullshit film, so I thought you were gonna think it was phenomenal.
Oh,
I was
no.
surprised that that's the one you thought was
It
horrible.
is a movie. It is a movie called Gotti, right? is a movie about John Gotti, the gangster from New York. And okay, so what I'm gonna do to you to try to put you in the headspace of what it's like to watch this movie, right? I'm gonna give you guys a scene. Yeah, the motherfucking Greeks are coming up on us again. I told you that the motherfucking Greeks were gonna come up on us. Yeah, I know the motherfucking Greeks are coming up on us, but do you have any idea what the fuck is going on? Yeah, it's Johnny. What? It's fucking Johnny. What do you mean it's fucking Johnny? Johnny's the guy that I trust. Yeah, but it's fucking Johnny. He ratted us out to them. Listen, even if it is Johnny, you know the Greeks can't get to us, but it's fucking Johnny, and we need to have him whacked. Okay, but listen, the Chinese is coming in on us fucking too. Johnny is the cause of all this. All right, so here's the thing. When you watch a scene like this, you assume that there are previous scenes that set up who the Greeks are, who Johnny is, why they wouldn't be able to come in, why they are a problem, and you would assume that there would be scenes later on in the movie that would go along with this conflict that has been set up and sort of do something with it, and it wouldn't just be a scene that you were dropped into without any context.
I feel like
Johnny.
What? Go on.
Go on, Saine. I was just making a stupid question.
I feel like it's okay to not have back context, because you can drop into the middle of the scene, but if they don't do anything with it either, then it's pointless.
Yeah.
Because showing scenes that talk about characters in the past and like other events and stuff kind of builds, it's sort of world building, even if it isn't specific. But if they don't do anything with it either, then it's kind of pointless.
Yeah. Yeah. This is every scene in the movie for the first hour of the movie.
What?
This is why this movie has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. They just drop into scenes, say gangster words, and then move on to the next scene as though that scene never happened.
So when everybody on the fucking, oh god, what's your stupid movie site where people say dumb shit?
Letterboxd?
Yeah, everybody on Letterboxd who go on there and review it and say, I don't understand what's happening in the movie. It's too hard to follow.
No, you don't
They're
understand.
absolutely correct.
Yes. In this one, what they're talking about is, and this one on Letterboxd, they aren't saying I don't understand it. They're saying this movie is such a fucking mess. You gotta see it.
Indecipherable.
This movie is brilliantly terrible. This movie is so god awful. It's you can't miss it.
You know though, John Travolta does kind of look like him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Look like who?
Gotti.
Yeah, he
look
does.
Like Johnny.
I mean, he
not
he
Johnny
does
Gotti.
Well, I mean, he is John Gotti, so at some point it's probably Johnny. Yeah, but this is how the movie starts at the beginning, and this now you know I'm saying this right, and what you have a picture in is like maybe like it moves on to the next scene, right, and the next scene would be the next thing that happens in like a timeline. This movie goes from the future to the past to somewhere in between the future and the past, so it's constantly shipping between different timelines.
Present is the word you're looking for.
Yeah. Well, no, not even that. Like the the future is like the present. Then it goes to 1979, 1981, back to now.
So what you're saying is, it just like John Travolta, they're trying to make this a Tarantino movie, but they're bad at it.
No, they're trying to make this a Martin Scorsese movie, but they're bad at it. Dalsson,
I feel like you only say they're trying to make it a Martin Scorsese movie because it had gangsters in it.
Not exactly. One of the things I was going to bring up. Okay, so Dalsson, remember in Goodfellas, right?
Yeah.
How in the beginning there was a narrator that was set up.
Yeah.
And throughout the movie, the narration was constant, right?
Yeah.
So that you could visually show the things that were happening, and then
because
give
it was
the
exposition. It was the guy who was in the movie.
So imagine if the narrator only came around and explained things in that particular way every once in a while. Like every half an hour, the narration will kick back in. Like this guy we called him the Walker, right?
But
he was,
it kicked in and he explained it like that, but there wasn't other context to it, right?
Yeah, like there wasn't other context, or you're like giving some context on something. Like this guy was the guy who I thought was my rival. I kind of hated this motherfucker. He comes in and he basically shits up the place, which, by the way, this is something that happens in the movie. He is brought up once when Gotti takes over and is never mentioned again. It is... and just it has this weird inconsistency that would War Dogs is a movie that came out last year, and I watched it and I was like, this is a cheap like Hollywood version of fucking Wolf of Wall Street, right? I watched this movie. This isn't like a cheap Hollywood version of anything. This is a confusing mess of a movie that I feel like was made by some miracle on Amazon. There were people during the production of this movie that sat down and watched it, looked at the scenes that just pop in and pop out and move on to the next goddamn thing and said, you know what? Yeah, this is what I want my movie to be like.
Do you think they just gave an intern like a video editor and scraps from other gangster movies and said, here, do what you can, man?
No, someone's brother was probably the director, and that's the only reason it got made.
What happened actually is I think what it was that the director did not want his horribly confused vision to be messed with. That is because the director of this movie is Kevin fucking Connolly, the guy from Entourage.
Oh no.
This guy who was a fucking actor in the goddamn Notebook finally got his chance at directing, and god damn does he just...
And he never will again.
And he never will again. Oh, unfortunately, one thing that I can say in this movie's like attack is that, oh wait, no, hold on, before I get into that, there is one other thing. There is a very specific shot in this movie that was like, just confused the hell out of me. So here's the thing. You have a child who died, right? A child was run over by a car and it's fucking dead.
Okay.
So you have a shot, right? On one side of the shot, you know, you got your whole rule of fucking thirds thing. You got a fucking line down the middle dividing a shot, right? You have the kid's mom on one side getting, spending time with her family and getting comforted by all of these people, right? And then divided by like a fucking wall. On the other side, you have his father pacing through the hallway, right? Now, this is a good shot that you can use for like the dichotomy between how these two people deal with this problem. The mom is in the foreground and the dad is sort of in the background, pacing back and forth down the hallway. So what you would want to do is you would want to have this shot be completely clear and visible. So what he decided to do was blur out the mom in the foreground, entirely focusing on the guy pacing back and forth in the background. And this wasn't like a shot that just sort of like was there and then snapped away. This is a shot that they lingered on for like a whole fucking minute, cut away, then cut back to the man like leaning against that wall that was separating in the exact same foreground as the mother was, and it still blurred the fuck out.
So were they trying to do like a rack focus thing and they just never did?
I have absolutely no idea. Like, I feel like
to explain a rack focus thing is like, you know that scene in Spider-Man where the grandma is talking to the like really in front of the camera, and then Peter's behind him, and they're talking, and when it changes who's talking,
it focuses on
they switch the focus from being on her in the foreground and him being blurry to him being in focus and her being blurry.
Yeah. Because of the fact that they didn't do that. That's what I thought they were going to do, and that it'll just look terrible because of how distracting the foreground blur was. I thought they're going to go like this, so they show like, there's one or the other. They could have been done better. That's stupid. But they never did. So what I think it was that this man saw the shot, right? And thought to himself, well, this is a movie about John Gotti. That's not important. Focus on John Gotti. I mean that literally. Focus on him. Everything else is out of focus.
This is what I think, and I don't know if this is gonna come off the wrong way to you, Thel, but I see that shit a lot. Not like in all these movies where he says bad. People don't hang on it because there's more glaring things to hang on. I think that visually, not just this specific thing, but that visually is something they use in art films, and so they want to use it in their movie to make it an art film.
So here's where I'm at with it. I already don't really like the overuse of rack focus shifting because it doesn't look that good, and I disagree with you. It's not a thing that art films do. It's a thing that every fucking film does.
Yeah.
And it's kind of awful.
Yeah.
I don't mind it when it's like a scene, but if a character is talking, they should be in focus.
Yeah.
And that isn't always the case, and it bugs me. So
Yeah, well,
I'm
and
with you,
here's the thing.
Dawson, but I don't think it's an art film thing. I think it's a Hollywood movie thing, if anything.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
a lot of art films are very,
Not-
very everything is in focus.
Maybe
so they
maybe
show
not
off, like,
maybe not it's an
yeah.
art film thing, but it's a
film
thing
thing.
that is meant to make it look like it's artsy and better
Yeah.
than it is.
Or it's meant to make like a shot look, and yeah, I completely agree. But this looks so very bad.
I think it's just like, hey, this is a technique that professionals use, so I should use it because then it'd make my film look professional.
Exactly.
And it's
Yeah.
like it just looks shitty, and there's no thought behind it, and I already don't like the overuse of it, but the fact that a whole scene is in it, it's just like
Yeah. Well, not only
silly.
like a whole scene, I'm talking like it not only does it blur out, this is a very literal half of the shot is blurred out. You have John Gotti, and then this other like partition over here is also blurred out.
What
So
the
there
fuck?
is like
So it's like Iris focused on John Gotti then.
I sort of, but he's like over in like this
Do you know what's
weird
kinda funny?
corner of the fucking shots.
Something that people have been doing in like phones, like cheap phones, they've been releasing phones with two cameras on it. One that'll get a blurry background, and one that'll get a blur in focus foreground. And the idea is to simulate bokeh, which is the effect that you get with a like actual DSLR camera.
Yeah.
But depending on the software, sometimes it makes it look like that everything in the center of the thing is in focus and everything else is not.
Yeah.
So you'll do something where, like, when you're testing it, you'll do something where you have your hand in front of the camera, and like this area between your finger and thumb will be in focus.
Also be in focus. Yeah.
So it's really
yeah, and that's what this looks
it
like.
seems funny.
And again, this really is just one thing in the giant mishmash of shit that this movie is. And like what a lot of things that the people talk about, because the next big thing about this movie is like people talk about the very first scene, the very first line. John Travolta looks out at the Brooklyn Bridge, turns the camera, looks directly at it. And Dawson, you remember in Goodfellas, and Saine, you remember in Wolf of Wall Street, there were multiple times where the main character would like cut in through the middle of the narration and talk to the camera, like throughout the movie and tell like the audience something directly. This of course only happens once in this movie, and it's at the very beginning, and it's so that John Travolta can turn around to the fucking camera and say, New York City is the greatest fucking city in the world. And it's a lot of people harp on the use of cliche in this movie, and I talk about it's like we need this scene in a movie. We need this scene in the movie because it's this kind of movie. That was the entire movie. Like, they didn't have anything between them. They then cut to the next scene that we needed in the movie. Unfortunately, in the second hour, it did become at least partially cohesive when he took the
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, when he took the throne, when he took the big gangster throne and like overthrew the other guy, it was sort of going through stuff, but it like really rushed through it. It like, we need to hit all these beats so we can get to my favorite part, the fucking credits.
Okay, hold on. So wait, so it's a bunch of disconnected scenes that didn't work very well together. The writing wasn't great, you're saying?
The writing was I couldn't tell you if the writing was great or not. It was full of cliches, but the thing is, like, you need
Gangster
to anchor on
cliches.
something.
Right? Yeah.
And
gangster
like
cliches.
Yeah.
Gangster cliches aren't super. Honestly, a lot of the reasons why they're cliches is because people did talk like that a little bit in the time period. So since this is a biopic, that sort of makes sense as long as they don't lean too much into it. But it sounds like every scene
existed in the movie.
It sounds like every scene was only that. And if the writing is so disjointed that nothing follows anything else, then that sounds like bad writing to me.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it was the script. I bet if you looked at the script for this movie, there would be like a fucking plot thread, but it was edited by a monkey. Like, and it's really weird because there are some points when the voiceover does come in, like near the end, it'll be like, he'll say something like, even after my death, my son didn't give in to the cops. Like, we had this whole scene about how this man fucking died. Then his voice comes in over the story, telling us about like what things that happened after he dies. Like, what the fuck?
That's crazy.
So overall, 10 out of 10. One of the best movies I've ever seen. I absolutely recommend Gotti, and I absolutely recommend reading the reviews for Gotti. Especially
based on what you're telling me about this disjointed jumble of scenes, big mess about a bunch of gangsters running around, then they take the gangster throne. Like, I'm very disappointed in you, Thel.
Why?
I thought we were supposed to watch JoJo Part 5 together when it came out.
Yeah, all right, there it is. Oh god.
Anyway,
You should definitely look at some of the reviews for this movie. Let me just give you some great bits of reviews. Connolly is operating on so many planes of cliche and incompetence, it genuinely becomes difficult to tell if this is utter dog shit or galaxy brain irony. It's like if Tommy Wiseau made Goodfellas. I kid you not, this movie opens with a nighttime shot of John Travolta looking out on the Manhattan Bridge, turning to face the camera and going, "New York is the greatest city in the world." It is amazing. They accidentally made the Walk Hard of gangster movies. In 10 years from now, will you be able to say you saw Gotti in theaters? And finally, my favorite, the absolute best one, that is just one word from the Rotten Tomatoes critics consensus, that is just forget about it.
Forget about it. Good.
So that was Gotti. Oh boy.
Whoever wrote that consensus.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. All right. Now I'm gonna go back to talking about them in this was the movie I watched last night. A movie I watched earlier this week, like on Tuesday or something, was a movie that what?
Just pick one, Thel.
Okay. Was a movie that came out like in 2017, but was actually released this year. It was a movie with the most generic title I've ever heard, so I wrote it down over here so I wouldn't forget it because I knew I would. It's called The Endless. So it's a pretty fine movie. It's a movie that starts out about two brothers who had previously left a cult. It is a horror sci-fi movie about that. It turns out the cult is actually worshiping real aliens and they're not just fake aliens. And there is a twist in the middle of the movie. It's pretty good. I feel like it kind of falls off a little bit when it gets to the twist. Mostly because some of the things in the twist don't work. So let's say, it's not to spoil the twist. Let's say that there are multiple bombs placed across the desert, right? And these two brothers need to get out of the radius of one of the bombs. But the other couple of bombs don't really matter. They can be within the explosion radius of these couple of bombs before they finish ticking down to their timer and they'll be fine. But this bomb, you can't.
That bomb's going off now.
That bomb's gonna go off in like a week, so you need to get out of the radius before that one. But these other bombs that go off every couple of seconds, you can be in the radius of that. That's fine. Just need to make sure you're not in the radius of this particular bomb. That's kind of weird, but aside from that, it's a very well-made little indie film about a couple guys who go to a cult. All the cult stuff is really, really well written and really, really tense, and there's a lot of character drama about the fact that they go back to this cult after years after having left it, and all of the people are just a little bit hostile to them, but they're trying to be accepting so they can drag them back into the cult. It's all that stuff is really, really great. There's one of the brothers.
Do they show the Alamau?
They do not show the Alamau.
How do you know they're really aliens?
Because the Alamau does in fact act on things, and the Alamau does there's the twist is very specifically related to the Alamau. The Alamau has done specific things to specific areas and zones of the fucking place, and this this is why the cult is worshiping them, and this has also affected a couple of other people who were just accidentally caught in the jaws of the Alamau, basically.
Okay.
But yeah. It's a very interesting movie. It's one of those movies where it's this man's got a career ahead of him. This is one of his first little movies that he's gonna be producer's gonna see this and be yeah, that guy's on to something. He's gonna make something of himself. I'm excited for more of this guy's movies. So yeah, that was The Endless. There's really not all that much to talk about because mostly it's a giant spoiler movie.
Okay.
Because there's a huge twist in the middle of the movie.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes even noting that there's going to be a twist is a little bit of spoiler. Sometimes.
Sure.
I always struggle with when it's like that, because
Yeah.
I never know how much I want to actually talk about.
Right. Well, here's the thing. This is one of those movies where it's like, the creepy cult people worship like a UFO. It's like there's probably going to be some twist. Like you expect this kind of movie to have a twist, but the difference is this one's twist is actually kind of good. It doesn't really work if you like really think about the rules too hard, but like it's solid. It's a solid twist that you kind of aren't expecting, and then they explain it and it goes on. You're like, oh, all right, yeah, okay, yeah, cool, neat.
Yeah. I always have trouble talking about. Sometimes the most I'll say is like the twist was good.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It's hard.
You don't want to give too much away so that people like infer what the twist is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of a problem with Incredibles, but then again, it's like this every Pixar movie since the fucking thing has had that twist. So I mean,
it's me.
Did
HAL 9000.
Did you see it yet, Dalsson?
No.
That sucks.
Yeah.
So speaking of see it yet, I saw Isle of Dogs. It was wonderful.
I spelled it wrong. I'm surprised it took you this long to watch it.
Yeah.
Because I had nothing but good things to say about it when it came out.
It was it's new. If you don't know about Isle of Dogs, it's the new fucking movie from Wes Anderson, the guy who brought you Grand Budapest Hotel, Life Aquatic Zoo, Rushmore, Moonshine Kingdom. The man has one hell of a fucking movie bunch.
And the Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Fantastic Mr. Fox. Yeah,
I'm surprised that you didn't even mention that.
Yeah, especially because that one's the one that's more closely related. And Fantastic Mr. Fox actually really does show one of the things that I did want to talk about with this movie is Wes Anderson's character growth and how he makes movies now. One of the things I noticed with Grand Budapest Hotel, right, was that a lot of his movies have like a bunch of sort of disjointed things, sort of like Gotti, but they all sort of exist on one plane. Like there's a plot to follow and like a character arc to follow when all of these like scenes sort of happen, and it's like it works.
It works because it's world building.
Yeah,
as opposed to just being random stuff.
Yeah, as opposed to just being random shit. His last two movies, this one and Grand Budapest Hotel, have been a little bit more streamlined. Like they've had like a plot that goes in like a specific direction, but they haven't lost that good Wes Anderson charm. His characters still are like very, very like monotone on purpose. All of the visuals are gorgeous. This movie especially, like, I mean, a lot of people talk about like Grand Budapest Hotel's visuals. I feel like this one, he outdid himself with the visuals in this one. This movie was a gorgeous movie. He definitely outdid Fantastic Mr. Fox.
I remember talking about this when I had first saw it and or first seen it, and I thought like one of the things I mentioned was everything looks almost distractingly meticulously composed.
Yeah, exactly. Like this man followed the rule of thirds, like the rule of thirds. You know what I'm saying?
It was like distracting, but not at the same time.
Yeah.
Like it was so consistent that it wasn't distracting, even though
it was like
every scene was very obviously heavily composed. It was really interesting to look at.
Yeah, this man made sure. This man took out like a ruler and like checked to make sure that like the hand was in the last third of the shot. Like, okay, let's move the camera like 2/3 of an inch. Okay,
well, but it wasn't. Yes, it heavily used the rule of thirds, but that wasn't the only convention it used. It jumped back and forth from being very tightly close, like full frame stuff. It moved like,
and then like lots and lots of wide shots.
Yeah, so it wasn't like every scene was a rule of thirds shot, but
well, and not everything scene was like a rule of thirds wide shot. Some of them were sort of more close, shots where it's like the face is like this amount of the fucking screen.
Right. I just wanted to say that it's not like every scene looks exactly the same. They do.
Oh yeah, no. In fact, he messes it up. He mixes it up. It's like Tetris. Everything fits into its little holes in every shot. And every shot is like it's wonderful. It's
I just don't want people to get the wrong idea because it looks amazing.
I understand. I understand. The story is also very meticulously plotted out, with all of the beats hitting just at the right times, just the right stuff. All of the dialogue is wonderful, and that's where a lot of the character comes from. Just like in the fucking every other Wes Anderson movie, the character comes from the dialogue. They all feel very real in this incredibly surreal fairy tale like world.
The music was really good as well.
The music was really good, yes.
They even start the movie on like kind of a music set like section, and I thought that was really a really good way to bring you into it.
Yeah. Even though the writing is like a little mundane, like the way people talk, they talk like real people, but it's also very, very snappy and clever. Especially like you were saying at the beginning, there's like this intro narration that explains like how all of this stuff started happening, and like the big war between like the people who loved cats and the dogs.
War.
And
Huh?
yeah, it's a long story, and like all of the dialogue in that was like really snappy and funny, and it was great. It was a wonderful movie. Isle of Dogs is great.
You know, in a way, he kind of he had three of the characters who would often talk to each other in that like mundane, like monotone, kind of flat conversation that was really interesting to listen to. But at a point in the movie, they just get rid of those characters for a while.
Yeah, they kind of do.
So in a way, it's almost as if he didn't like lean too heavily on his own thing either. Yeah. So I don't know. It was really interesting. Like I hadn't thought about that, but
it's a beautiful movie. He's still Wes Anderson's still back.
It's among one of my favorite movies this year so far.
Yeah, it's definitely in my top 5 too. Like it is some good shit. It's probably like maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't know.
I'm like right there with you. My favorite so far has been Upgrade, just because it was so surprising for me.
Yeah, that's still one I need to see. Yeah, and that's basically all I have to say about Isle of Dogs. It's fucking goddamn great. I don't know though if you're like a cat person, this movie's pretty anti-cat. I mean, just that.
I mean, I'm a cat person, but I thought it was fine.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Great. That's about all I did this week.
Dalsson, do you want to talk about a game you played this week?
Fuck.
Do you want me to go next?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go next.
I don't know if I want to use my stored cold in order to open my mouth and speak.
Yeah, you gotta put on your still suit. Make sure you only lose like 2% of water.
You know, we could talk about Westworld. I don't know how much you guys have to say about that at this point.
Season 2.
We haven't seen any of season 2. We've seen all of season 1.
Oh, you haven't watched any of season 2?
No, none, 0.
Okay, well, I will talk about Westworld a little bit. Okay. I'm most of the way through season 2. I have about 4 episodes left or something. I think there's like 12 episodes or something. I don't remember. So Westworld, the premise of it, if you have not heard, is a kind of a theme park based on the American Southwest. I think they don't explicitly say it, but it's shot in Utah. So it probably takes place in Utah.
Yeah.
Although it's hard to say because the park is like very...
Yeah, the park is like designed. It could take place fucking anywhere.
Yeah, the only reason
it could take place on the island that Jurassic Park was on after they killed all the dinosaurs.
It's true. The only reason I think it probably does take place in Utah is just because the amount of terraforming they have to do. They actually bring in like those giant like terraforming
fucking Badger 188.
Yeah, so I feel like at least some of the terrain is probably natural.
Yeah.
Right. So it would make sense for it to be in that area. But yeah, the American Southwest, it's very much... So, okay, the premise of the show is there's this theme park based on the Southwest, and all of the people who aren't... all of the characters in the park who are not actual people are robots. And they are all running on this loop. Individual to each character, and they kind of have... They have their loop.
Emergent gameplay.
They have their loop. They have an ability to what's the word they always use for that? Kind of adapt to a situation. Improvise. They improvise. So based on how their character is kind of set up, if you say one thing to it, it will sort of predictably reply in a similar way to how you might expect them to based on what their character is. One of the cool things about the show is they actually... I heard about the show a long time ago when it was first coming out, and they were talking about how a lot of their inspiration and a lot of how they designed the characters and stuff came a lot from video game designers. And there was a lot of inspiration from video games in that. So it's really interesting to watch the show and kind of look for those...
Pete Hines shows up in this show and gets drunk and pisses in a bottle. And pisses on Westworld.
he literally pisses on Westworld, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that scene vividly. We talked about it last week.
So, the series in general is like a kind of a psychological thriller, probably. That's how I would probably best describe it, I guess. It follows like a handful of different characters. I would say like there's like 5 main characters, I think. And they're each have different roles in the thing. What?
Debatably.
Well, I would still say hosts are main characters, even if...
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is there's 5 debatably. That number can go up and down.
Well, I guess it really depends on what you consider a main character, I guess. I would say Dolores is a main character.
I'm kind of talking more about something that you'd have to watch it to know, but...
Well, I don't see what you're getting at, though, and I've seen more than you now.
I'll tell you after the podcast instead of spoiling anything. It's from season 1, but like...
Oh, okay, I guess I see what you're saying, but...
Yeah.
But
okay.
no, I would still keep those distinct. But that's just me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so it, like... we were talking about twists. This is a show that definitely has a really big twist in there.
This show is all about twists. Like
there's at least 2 major twists, I would say.
Like I would say I haven't started watching season 2, but if it continues with the theming of like when I was first watching season 1, I didn't even know there really was a mystery to kind of solve. Like in my or I didn't know the extent of some of the mysteries there were to solve, but there were mysteries that you as a viewer could solve, but only if you knew that there was a mystery to solve. So I'm kind of excited to watch season 2 because if it keeps up with that kind of theming, there's like you can like now know, okay, I've got to pay attention, see what kind of strange things are going on to see.
I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about.
I know exactly what he's talking about. And
well, it would make sense because you guys watched it together.
Well, this is like a last episode. I watched it by myself, then I watched it with him, and then I watched it with Megan. I've seen all of season 1 3 times. So the specific thing that he's talking about, there's like specific hints in one character's storyline to another character's storyline. And all of these sort of work together.
Converge as one, but you don't even know that they're hints until you.
Well, yeah, okay.
Seen what's going on. Yeah.
I wouldn't really. I mean, I don't know that that's is it like mystery exactly. I think that's still wrapped up as part of one of the major twists, but
right.
Yeah. I mean, you could speculate on what's going to happen quite a bit while watching it, and people did very much in season 1. I think there's less of that in season 2 so far, from what I've seen.
Okay.
Because they kind of got their major things out of the way. Like the big reveals kind of happened already. So now what's sort of happening is more about the consequences of that, of those things. And you get to learn more about the characters, but it's not. At least at this point, there hasn't been something gigantic that's happened the same way.
Right.
At the same way it would have at the same point in time as I had watched the other one. There's one thing that kind of... So there's of the 2 major twists, one of them has very obvious implications on the other one, on the second season, and the second twist is probably the one that happens kind of in the last episode when they finally like reveal it to the viewer.
Right.
That one doesn't have as many implications, but it's like you can kind of get it. Although that might end up coming.
You can kind of think like, what does this mean for everything else?
I feel like that last bit probably has more to do. Might have more to do with the finale of season 2, which I've not seen yet.
Right.
I could see that boiling to a head in a way that.
I would like to note that Westworld was a movie a long time ago.
It was directed by Michael Crichton, the guy who wrote Jurassic Park.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, if you've seen that old Westworld movie, this shit blows it out of the water. It's not even the same thematically, like remotely.
Yeah.
Old Westworld movie was about
by Michael
robot.
Crichton, the guy who wrote Jurassic Park. I mean, the guy who wrote the book Jurassic Park, not who wrote for Jurassic Park the movie.
Right. I thought that was obvious. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think season 2 is very strong.
Oh, yeah.
It's not as much of a mystery show anymore,
Right.
but it's. I mean, other than like. It's not like it's. It doesn't feel like there's something that you are obviously. I'm having trouble putting this word into words.
I think I see where you're going.
Yeah, it's not like it's an obvious mystery that the characters are trying to figure something out. No one's really trying to figure something out per se. They kind of are, but not really.
Like Dolores in the previous season, where it's like there was some weird stuff going on with her, and we were like, I don't know what's going on. A lot of people talking.
Oh no, I mean more specifically, like like what's his name was like, what is happening to the host?
Oh yeah,
why is this happening? Like no
one's
one's really
trying to find the maze. Yeah,
there's much less of what is happening, what is this, what is that. It's more like
it's much more
what the fuck happened. It's a lot of characters trying to figure out, you know, what happened, kind of as
why the Romans
of,
invaded
of the end of season 1. So, yeah, there's a lot of that, and just some of the. There's one character who is like. His situation, like his whole, what he's dealing with in the show entirely is different in the second season because for obvious reasons, and
okay,
they focus heavily on him, which is really cool because it's like it asks you to ask, or it makes you ask more philosophical questions as you're going on. And this first season definitely did, but the second season is definitely like, almost more about the philosophy in places. Well, apparently they dream quite a bit, don't they?
But is it?
Hey, yo, Rick, Deckard, can you come here and deal with this Westworld bullshit? Get back on the case, motherfucker.
Yeah, and they introduced some new. They introduced some new characters who are also really interesting.
Good. And
take other characters into interesting places as well.
Do they introduce any new hosts or just new like people?
No new hosts as far as I know.
Okay. Yeah.
There are other characters. I mean, there's lots of NPCs, but a lot of the characters from season 1 come back.
Yeah. I would imagine they would.
Like Hector comes up. Oh, they actually do introduce a couple of new hosts.
Okay.
But they're more subplots than main characters.
Well,
exactly.
The thing that it didn't really disappoint me about season 1 because it was all wrapped up really well together, right?
Right.
But like the thing that kind of like thinking about it in hindsight, right? Westworld is supposed to be fucking enormous, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we saw like 5 set pieces of it. Because of the theme of them being in a loop and like trying to figure out exactly what's going on in each loop. So like there's so many places to go in the theme park. They had to have introduced some new hosts.
Well,
right?
Okay. The thing is, a lot of the stuff that they don't show is like it's obvious that there's a lot of like filler in the park.
Right.
There's a lot of just rolling hills and, you know, deserts, and like there's a lot of stuff just there.
Right.
So they still focus on set pieces, and they actually revisit quite a few set pieces as well. But it's not like you're running around exploring the whole place. But they do go to some interesting variations on some things. And I guess I'll leave it at that. But
I can't wait for a Westworld video game where you come out of your monorail into the bright, bustling town of Sanctuary Hill. Oh shit! Wait, no, scratch that.
So yeah, there's
cryogenic freeze stasis monorail.
I don't know if this qualifies as a twist, but there is another thing towards the end of the season, of the first season, that like makes you wonder about certain aspects of the world in general outside of Westworld. Do
you mean when they showed Roman World?
Yes, Roman World. So
no, I mean like that's actually what it's called. There's another.
You
part
mean
called
Ronin World?
No. Oh,
No.
the samurais. No,
you said Roman.
I did say Roman World. I forgot what it was. In the original Westworld movie, there were 3 parts. There was Roman World, Medieval World, and Westworld.
Oh.
So that's why I said Roman World. I just forgot which they showed. It was Samurai World. That's right.
There's also more than that, but
Okay.
so they actually do kind of. I didn't really want to like spoil that bit, but you know, they do kind of go to other places as well outside of just Westworld too, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really good. I definitely like season 1. I think was a neater package so far. But I haven't finished season 2, so I mean it might wrap up in a really interesting way. But it feels like season 1 was like this thing happened, and season 2 is like, and then more stuff happened. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that Westworld should have stopped, but it felt like it could have stopped at the end of season 1, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, that's why I was a little bit tentative about season 2, just because it was such a good package when it was. But I mean, if they keep going with it, I'm fine with it. I mean, shit, it was good. If it keeps being good,
they do some really interesting things, and the show does continue to be good.
Yeah. Okay.
It just might be less concise, I guess.
Okay.
You know, but that is what it is. I don't think anybody's going to be upset that they decided to continue it, because it's very interesting.
Okay.
So that's Westworld. Pretty good.
Yeah, all right.
I got HBO recently because I changed my cable package, so I just got it on accident. So I was like, well, might as well watch all of Westworld.
Yeah. Might as well give the entirety of Westworld a shot.
Exactly.
So why don't I talk about Ni no Kuni a little bit?
Oh, okay.
I started playing this again last night and lost sleep because of it. I only got like 5 hours of sleep last night because I was up all night playing this game.
Well, not, but you know.
Did you get past Waterworld?
I started and finished all of Hydropolis.
Okay,
last night.
I am like in the middle of it right now, so.
I thought that section was quite a bit shorter than the last one.
Yeah.
The last few actually, because
the last few had you going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth in different places. And
yeah, and this one, in the Hydropolis one, it's like, go here, cool. Now go here, cool. Now go back to the first place. You're done.
Yeah.
But man, the music for Hydropolis is really good.
Yeah.
I kind of, I thought the music was good overall for Ni no Kuni, but it wasn't until I was running around the Hydropolis city that it was like, wow, I was really like noticing the music there. So the reason why I decided to pick it up again is because they recently added 2 new difficulty modes. They added hard and expert. I don't think there's easier modes. I think there's normal, hard, and expert. But normal is like really easy. So I first started on expert, and just to, because the normal was so easy, I was like, might as well see how expert is, and then I'll bump it down to hard if I need to. Expert is really hard. as you might expect. The problem with expert, I think, is that you get hurt for too much damage.
Yeah.
It's not that they make enemies too spongy per se. It's just that enemies do a crazy amount of damage to you. So it seems like kind of like in Nier Automata, you could play on that mode where you get hit or you get killed in one hit. It's not quite as bad as that, but it's like 2 or 3 hits and you're basically dead, even with really good equipment. So expert was a little overtuned, but I could see why they might want to do that, because some people really want a hard challenge, so I could see it. I thought maybe it was a little overtuned, but part of the problem was like it had been so long that I was trying to play on expert after not playing for a while, and I didn't remember the controls entirely. So that was a little bit of it.
One of the things is like on normal, like you can get hit like 500 times, and then you're like, oh, maybe I should use a potion now. Nah, you know what? I'm almost done with this fight. It'll just heal me anyway.
Well, you don't get healed at the end of fights, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's like you could just face tank everything practically, except for like really hard bosses that are meant to kill you with a big attack that's telegraphed.
Yeah, except like most enemies telegraph quite a bit anyway. That it's really easy to not get. It's not really easy. It's fairly easy to not get hit most of the time.
Right.
The problem is on expert, when you get hit, like that's half to a third of your health. So, or a third to half of your health. So it is a little bit too much. So I switched it down to hard mode. And I think this is the sweet spot. It's a lot better. Because before I basically never used healing items hardly. I was running around, and I remember at one point I sold like 30 of the like basic healing items just because I never needed them. Right. On hard, it's good because you still need to use herbs a little bit, but or you don't need to use herbs constantly. Like on expert, I had to use like 2 or 3 herbs after every fight. This one, it was more like every now and then I would have to use it, and I would occasionally use it in the middle of a fight, but it wasn't like I was using it all the time. And it made like I think the best part of bumping this up to hard versus normal is it makes you have to actually consider the tactics tweaker.
Mm-hmm.
Because before they had this thing called the tactics tweaker, where you could make it so specific kinds of enemies did less damage to you, but if they did less damage to you, a different kind of enemy would do more damage to you. And then you had another one that like you could increase your damage output, and then or you could increase your like amount of armor, or you could adjust how long you had or how long your invulnerability frames were when you dodged. So like you could go in and kind of offset different things, or like make choices about what you would rather happen versus other things. Like you could make yourself weaker to water damage in exchange for resistance against fire damage, that sort of thing.
Right.
On normal mode, you basically don't even need to think about it. Like I opened the tactics tweaker and like got some of the basic ones, and then I got the one that increases your damage, and I just put that one all the way up and just left it there forever and ever and ever. And on hard mode, I had to actually like consider it again, so I went back and like I put more points in, and I like adjusted it, and it's a lot better.
Right.
That's probably why people ask for like higher difficulty things, because they had this whole like mechanic that it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll just put damage to the top.
Right. And I could even see you going back and switching to like if you're really comfortable with the game, I could see someone going and putting it up to expert, and then like relying heavily on using food items, because foods give you like bonuses or buffs and stuff, and then using that in a combination with a tactics tweaker and that sort of thing, you probably could mitigate quite a bit of the damage, and especially if you were good at dodging a lot of the attacks. So I could see the case for expert anyway, but I feel like hard is kind of where you should play. I feel like hard should be normal. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there should be a hard that is between hard and expert should be like very hard.
Yeah.
So I like, and one of the things is I really enjoyed this.
Get down, Mr. President mode.
I really enjoyed the story of Ni no Kuni 2, but it was so easy that I was sort of breezing through it. So like it was kind of a game I wasn't really playing for the gameplay. The gameplay was fun. It don't get me wrong, but it was like I didn't feel super challenged. So I was just kind of like, it was a relaxing game to play more than anything else. Whereas now it feels like more of a challenge, and you feel like you're actually accomplishing things. So it's definitely like rekindled my interest in the game quite a bit. So if you had played Ni no Kuni, I didn't really explain what it is because this is sort of an update. But if you hadn't played Ni no Kuni, I would recommend jumping back. Or if you have played it before but thought it was too easy, I would recommend jumping back into it now. And if you haven't played it, I definitely do recommend it. It is a really good game. So. Especially if you like kind of light action RPGs. JRPGs.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it too.
Also, that Hydropolis dungeon, really fucking good.
It was fun, from what I played of it.
Were you in the middle of Abyss when you stopped?
Yeah, I was.
You're really close to the end of that section then.
Oh, okay.
You're not halfway through it. You're like 80% through it.
I see.
Okay. So that's Ni no Kuni 2. I played a little bit of Prey this week, but I haven't played enough to really feel comfortable talking about my thoughts on it. I haven't like really composed my thoughts on it yet. So, is there any games you've played before we move on, Dalsson?
I have a couple that I want to mention. The first one is just kind of a shout out to one of my like favorite games of all time that I just kind of forgot that I loved so much.
We had like this whole conversation about like Dalsson came to me and was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna play on the stream. I was like, well, look through your stuff list. He's like,
and I just started listing games.
Right.
Like, oh my god, I have Oddworld Stranger's Wrath, and that was what I decided to play on my stream. And man,
damn it. I'm gonna have to go through and put the volume down because you screamed into your mic and I could hear it clipping.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry. I did it once. What do you want? This is the first time I've got to talk the whole podcast.
Yeah, but you leaned into your mic and then yelled at the same time. It's like, oh, that's gonna clip.
Yeah. So Oddworld Stranger's Wrath, old ass game. It's probably fucking half as old as I am, but God, does it still ever hold up? Stranger is a guy basically who's in Oddworld. It's the same Oddworld as like Abe's Odyssey and Abe's Exodus and New and Tasty if you've played that. And he's a bounty hunter, and what he's doing is hunting bounties so that he can get a surgery that he needs to save his life ? I don't want to go too deep into it. I think
New and Tasty was a remake of Odyssey and Exodus.
Oh, was it really? Oh, okay.
I think there's Munch's Odyssey as well.
That makes sense. Yeah, but anyway, it's the same Oddworld, right? Yeah. It still holds up today, I think. And playing it on the PC is much better than I remember having played it on the Xbox, because you switch back and forth between first and third person modes, and the third person mode is, you can be in third person mode, but you aren't able to use any of your ammunition, which is made up of little critters that you collect. So you pretty much want to be in first person mode anytime you're not traveling anywhere. And so it kind of almost makes the game feel different, because playing it on the Xbox, the aiming controls were really horrendous. It was kind of like super almost like a Resident Evil game, slightly different, old Resident Evil game, slightly different. It didn't have the terrible tank controls because it was first person, but I guess this would be considered tank controls. You had to hold down a button, stand still, aim, and shoot with a joystick, as opposed to on the PC you can move around and just aim with your mouse. So it's
why couldn't you? Why? Well, what do you mean with the controllers or the controls? I don't understand that.
If you've ever played Metroid Prime, it was you moved around and then you had to hold down a button in order to use a joystick to aim your shots.
Oh.
It worked the same way in the original Stranger's Wrath, if I'm remembering correctly. You moved around in third person, and then you like held down the left trigger, zoomed in, stood still, aimed around.
I don't
So it was
understand
like
why.
Metroid Prime.
I don't understand why being on PC would change that though.
Because on the PC, you can press tab and still walk and like it holds you in first person mode. And then you can still walk around and aim at the same time.
It couldn't hold you in first person mode before?
No, you had to hold down a button to go into first person mode.
And the same move stick that was used for moving.
Same-
in
Well,
third
if you
person
used a
was-
different,
yeah.
I mean, did it have different control schemes? Because you probably could have just switched it to a different button, maybe.
I don't know, but I remember when I played it, you had to stand still while you were aiming, and now you don't.
So it was basically like Metroid Prime without the targeting system that allowed
Exactly.
you to move.
Exactly. But that said, playing it with the I believe the game was balanced around that, because playing it with the first person, like essentially in first person shooter mode, makes some of the boss fights really easy, because you can just stay in first person, pop out, shoot him a bunch, and then pop back behind your cover instead of run like dodge his attack, run out, hope that you aim fast enough to get a shot off on him, and then exit first person mode and run back. Or worse, use the atrocious third person melee combat. So I'd say that it's Oddworld Stranger's Wrath HD edition for the PC. It's on Steam. It's good. I would say pick it up, especially if you're kind of nostalgic about the old, like if you've played it before and you're kind of nostalgic about it. It's definitely a trip. The voice acting's great, except for Stranger, whose voice acting is god awful.
Oh fuck! There was something about Gotti I forgot to mention. It had the worst
no.
actress I've ever seen in like a major release movie.
Oh no.
There was this one lady who was playing a lawyer, and who reveals like that the one guy was been an informant for the FBI, and she is just the absolute worst possible actress I've ever seen.
Oh no.
The truth is that I have been here to tell you is that he is an FBI informant agent.
That sounds like how Stranger talks. He's like, I need to get myself over to the hospital. That's like every single one of his lines. He stops in the middle of it, sighs out real deep. And I get that they're trying to make him sound like a fucking bounty hunter Western cliche man, but it's just bad.
Oh yeah.
I passed on Oddworld Stranger Wrath the first time. I don't think I'm going to go back and play it now.
Fair enough.
I remember when it came out, and I was like, pass.
The other game that I played, a relatively new one that I was not expecting to enjoy as much as I did. I only got it because I received a key. So I wasn't really expecting to enjoy it, but I enjoyed it quite a lot. It's called Haimrik. Haimrik. And it is about a little nobody, essentially, from this town that's basically practically illiterate, and he is a scribe. And he finds a book that gives him the power to use his writing to actually do physical things in the world. So but don't get the wrong impression. It's not like Scribblenauts. There are a bunch of pre-made levels, right? Where he is going through these levels and the words are written out for you, and you kind of have to solve puzzles by pulling things from the words. So for example, you'll be walking and it'll have something written like, wow, that was such a dynamite exit you made that Haimrik just made from the last place, and blah 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 blah, and these rocks are in the way, and blah 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 blah. And you're like, oh, they're using dynamite as an adjective, but I need to go grab the word dynamite and use it to blow up the rocks. So it gets to be some like interesting puzzle solving levels, and they have like really cool boss fights. Like the first boss fight in the game, you fought against another person who had this same power as you, and like it has two little levels. On the bottom level is Haimrik, and it's describing what he's doing, and you have to pick the words out. and then on the top level was the evil wizard, and he's running along and also pulling shit. So like it's like the evil wizard picks up his wand, and you're like, okay, when he runs to the word wand, then he's going to take out an attack and fire it. So you kind of had to pay attention to your screen while also looking at the other guy's screen to see the word cues for what he was going to attack you with next. It was really interesting, a really neat concept, and I think they executed it pretty well. Yeah. So in the video here is actually a good thing. This is from like the very first level, and it doesn't. I was a little disappointed when I first saw this. It doesn't highlight every word you need to solve the puzzle. It's just doing that for the tutorial to kind of show you.
Well, good.
You need to go to words.
It wouldn't be a puzzle game.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't be a puzzle if it told you everything. Yeah, and then like you can pick out you got a crossbow and you pick up some arrows from the word arrows to restock while you're fighting this dragon. It does that. It does stuff like that all the time. It's just a. I would say it's worth a shot. You know, it's worth trying. It's actually a really cute little kind of charming experience. But like I think that's the main draw of the game in the end, is not like how perfectly innovative it is. I mean, it's a little innovative. It's got some neat mechanics, but most importantly, I think it's just kind of charming. You know, it's a charming little game to play for a little while.
Right.
Oh, good.
And it has a decent story too. Like the whole game isn't him running through the books with the thing. Like whenever you're in a book like this, or whenever you're in a like word puzzle like this, you're inside of a book trying to solve something that is happening to Haimrik in the real world. So yeah, like it has a coherent story with you doing things on purpose, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, it actually is pretty. It's very nice.
Do you know how much it was on Steam?
I believe it's $10. It's $9.99 on Steam. It might be cheaper now because of the Steam sale.
Well, maybe. It actually looks. It seems like it would be worth that.
Oh no, it's $16.99.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's a little high, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little steep. I played it for 2.5 hours today, and I think I'm getting close to the end of the game, but it's got at least 3 or 4 hours worth of content to play through once.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's one of those games that would be worth replaying, because things don't really change, you know, like once you solve the puzzles, you're like, oh yeah, this is how you do the puzzle.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I don't know, like puzzle games can be good, can be fun.
Yeah.
You like adventure games like that. That seems a little steep to me, but at the same time, that's not exactly my wheelhouse anyway. So
exactly, yeah.
All right. Do we want to go to a break before we come back for news?
Please,
Sure.
God, yes.
Okay, so
Dalsson needs to shove himself in the fridge.
do you need like 5 minutes or like 10?
Let's just do 5.
Okay, so 5:15 then.
Sure.
Sounds good to me.
All right, we will see you guys in a minute.
5.
Exactly 5 minutes. And we're back. For the second half of the podcast, we're going to talk about movie and game news. And, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's
Sorry about that.
actually a fairly decent amount, but a lot of it is like sales number stuff. We look lighter on movie news, so why don't you start with that, Thel?
Okay, I'll give that a shot. All right, so the first thing isn't necessarily movie news per se. It's more like YouTube news, right. YouTuber news. So okay, what happened was a lot of people had a bunch of complaints about VidCon, a big YouTuber video convention where you can meet and greet YouTubers and do all of this stuff. Specifically, this particular YouTuber, Tanya, she was very pissed off at a couple of years of VidCon and like how she felt that they had treated her unfairly, like, you know, they had sort of thrown her to the wayside and like didn't do a lot of focusing on her, and so she sat down and decided to make her own VidCon with blackjack and hookers. Exactly. And
But
it
as
was...
is always, they couldn't pay for the blackjack tables, and the hookers left.
No, this time there were way too many hookers. They couldn't fit them all in the room. There was a line of hookers outside that never got into the hotel. And
Okay,
the
so
fire
here's the
department
thing.
had to be called.
Here's the thing. I actually read the article, unlike you probably.
No, I read it like I looked
They
at this stuff.
they
Yeah.
sold to something like 500 tickets, meaning 500 people were allowed to come, meaning they made room for 500 people, and 20,000 people just showed up without tickets.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. The people who showed up, this was actually something that they had, like they had already had the previous ticket numbers, right? And the people who showed up without tickets showed up with not the premium fucking creator pass or the favorite fucking creator pass. The favorite fucking creator pass got you like a gift bag of stuff. One of the things you could buy was like a literally gift bag that came with 2 condoms. But that's beside the point. The favorite fucking creator pass was like this thing that you had to buy. However, there were free tickets because this woman wanted to make like everything free. And on the door, right, when people were walking up to it, what happened was they didn't have like any way to check whether you had a favorite fucking creator pass or like a regular pass, so they just asked you.
Oh, and so they gave everyone passes?
Well, if you said that you had a favorite fucking creator pass, like you could get in, like again, it was basically free. The basic ticket was $0.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but they gave you swag bags if you just lied? Is that what happened?
Yeah, that was one of the things that happened. There was no a special line for people who had actually paid. So people who had paid like $40 to get there spent very literally 4 to 5 hours in line and then were never allowed to actually enter the convention. There were a bunch of meet and greets where they said that you would get you would be absolutely 100% able to meet and greet, but like hundreds of people signed up. Like 500 people would sign up for one meet and greet. They could only fit like 150 people. So people who had paid money for meet and greets would not actually be able to meet and greet.
But that's the thing.
There were a bunch of scheduling conflicts.
Allow 500 people to sign up if they only had room for 100?
Exactly.
Well, not only that, but like a free place where they don't actually check anyone. Like, really, a lot of conventions sell tickets not because they want to charge money, but because logistically they just can't have that many people show up. That's why a lot of conventions are like charities, because it's not actually about
the money.
It's about the meeting, really. Exactly. A lot of times they just have all of it, all the ticket prices and whatever go to charity after expenses, because it's like if you're taking money anyway, you might as well cover your expenses, right?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I could see that going horribly wrong if they have free tickets.
And
the power of money.
Yeah, and the scheduling conflict. This specific scheduling conflict. The scheduling conflicts were with the VidCon that she was trying to create like she was trying to create like an alternate con that would treat people right, unlike VidCon, but goddamn was it a fucking mess.
She was trying to create an alternate VidCon which would treat herself right. That was what it was.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, but you know, it was free. Like I think that I don't think that she had bad motivation.
Yeah,
I just think she
had
really poor
not
execution.
Like Fire Festival where it was like a legitimate cash grab. This was just a fucking mess.
Yeah, she just didn't know how to manage a convention.
Yeah,
and
she had no idea what the fuck.
Plus, if you're gonna do an alternative to VidCon, make it not that close to VidCon.
I think you should just.
VidCon was like last week or something, right?
I think that good advice.
It was at the exact same time. That's why there were scheduling conflicts. Like some of the YouTubers.
I think that good advice to anybody who would-be convention goers is just don't fucking go to a first-year convention. They're not going to know how to run it. They never, ever do. Ever. They never know how to run it. They always run it like shit.
Sometimes it's fun to go to first-year conventions just because it tends to be a smaller, more like intimate thing. Yeah, so assuming they don't actually fuck everything up. Like I've seen some first year cons that weren't terrible. You just don't hear
and then
about
you
them.
get kicked out of your hotel, and
No, you just don't hear about them. The only ones you hear about are
the bad
Dash
ones,
Con and this
Dash
one.
Con, Fire Festival, fucking
Because
no, that was oh wait, no, the Seattle one, the Seattle Furry Convention, Rainforest, that was not a first time convention.
oh yeah, Rainforest has been going for a long time. That one, it came to light, was actually intentionally sabotaged.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, didn't you hear about that? They like all of that crazy shit that was going on at Rainforest was people who didn't want the con to continue, not people who were just having a good old grand old time shitting in their diapers or whatever.
Hamper Chew went to that specific con that year.
can we not talk about this?
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, like I think
Anyway.
that there's plenty of first year cons that do fine, or cons that only last 2 or 3 years because they can't continue operating. But you don't hear about those ones. You don't hear about the ones that have people who are decent at logistics. You hear about the ones that are trash fires.
You don't hear. They're not gonna write a Polygon article.
But
con goes fine. Nothing bad happens.
But you do hear about the ones that are in their 4th or 5th year, and they're like, "This is actually a really good con."
I mean, yeah, but that's because like they finally get like the big people finally notice it after the 4th or 5th year.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at, right? So like people finally notice it, sure, like, but like if they've been going, then they're shown to be reliable.
I don't think that I think that there are some that are just trash fires, but I think that a majority of first year cons probably go fine. You just don't hear about them. There was a Furry Fiesta in Texas that I remember when that had its first year and everything went fine. So like it's not like it doesn't happen. It's just like you only hear about the trash fires. Like this is the first I'd heard of this one. I had never heard of TanaCon before this either. But
that's because it was a first year con.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I didn't hear the excitement leading up to it. I heard about DashCon before DashCon happened. It's just, I mean, it's random. Who knows?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The next thing we have.
I'm not in that circle though, so you know.
This is the weirdest fucking link I've ever seen because it is entirely it's misleading. So the link says Doom movie reboot begins production, but the actual article is Doom movie reboot wraps production,
which means it's done. It's happened.
Yeah, which means it's done.
It also just straight up has the poster from the old Doom movie.
Yeah, but that's because they haven't released the poster for the new one yet.
Okay, fair enough.
And it's going to be released on like streaming services and DVD. Just
really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it says It says Amy Manson and Luke Allen Gale, right, as stars, and they just straight up have a picture of The Rock as the link header. Like,
because they don't have. There's like no promotional material for this movie, like at all. There's like nothing they could have.
Also, if you actually go to the article, the picture in the header is like Doom guy killing guys.
Yeah.
It's the box art from
Doom 2016. Yeah. I'm not super excited for this movie, but I thought I might as well mention it. Yeah, that was fun. Anyway,
I liked the first Doom movie, even if it was like kind of a bad video game movie. Like it wasn't that bad. It was not good, but it wasn't terrible. It was kind of fun to watch.
It was like the dumbest action movie, like not the dumbest action movie, but it was like the baseline of dumb action.
It wasn't even that. Well, yeah. I guess I see what you're saying.
And just like everybody else, like I don't think anybody's ever expressed an opinion other than this. I thought the first person mode scene was really cool. It was like, hey, look at this, like they.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Game. Yeah. And also, I think that what really hampered that film was that it was heavily based on Doom 3.
Yeah.
So really, like a lot of the problems with Doom 3 kind of transferred into the Doom movie.
Not only that, but it was also hampered by the fact that it was also partially based on the novels, right? Where, if I remember right, in the Doom movie, like, these weren't demons, they were, like, secretly aliens that were, like, created.
Yeah, well, they very specifically didn't want to use the word demon because they were afraid of ratings.
Oh,
really?
No!
Yeah. Yeah, they wanted to avoid the connotation of having demons in their thing.
I can understand.
They were like zombies,
They were like people transformed into monsters.
And like even in Doom 3, the game, they were referred to as demons. Everything was demons because it was Doom.
Yeah,
But
and that's like the novels. They were like, oh, these are secretly Mars aliens who made their own hell or something.
Made their
and it
own
was
hell.
like, it was terrible.
It sounds like they don't ever acknowledge what they are. They are like demons, but they never say demon. They never say the word demon in it, and they don't say that they come from hell.
Oh, right.
So
yeah, I think they wanted
At
to
no
avoid.
point does The Rock go to hell and start killing demons, which
Why would you
because
even make a Doom movie if you don't do that?
Next one
it
is
said, I
Yep.
don't know.
Next one is an article titled "We are experiencing the biggest revolution in movie ticket prices," and what this is basically talking about is MoviePass has become a big thing. Unfortunately, was not very profitable and might not last. However, this has a bunch of other people and a bunch of other companies looking like, this fucking MoviePass stuff. Might be able to make a goddamn buck off of this if we let people see like 3 movies a week on a subscription fee. That might be fucking cool, pretty good for us, you know? So like AMC Theaters is setting up one of these. Another theater, which one?
We brought it up. We brought it up when when AMC was doing it. It's like $20 a month.
Yeah.
And Alamo Drafthouse is doing it, but I think that makes a lot more sense because Alamo Drafthouse is like kind of a restaurant too.
Yeah.
So it would make sense to like if you go there often enough, having the thing be the food, not the movies. Anyway, so I think they're required to charge a ticket price though, because of like Hollywood deals. Yeah. So I think that's why theaters can't get away with just not charging for the tickets. I think they have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
but a subscription service would work fine because technically they're still issuing tickets.
Right.
Yeah. So this next one is an article that I wanted to talk about a little bit, just a little bit. The next movie that Nicolas Cage is going to be in, automatically everyone has already turned off their thing. But this next movie is going to be directed by Panos Cosmatos, this guy who directed a film called Beyond the Black Rainbow. A movie that I'm going to get into a little bit like later in the year. I'm going to probably make a video on Annihilation and talk about some of the films that influenced it. I was thinking about this movie and this director for like really recently. I wonder, what has he been up to? He hasn't released a movie since 2009 when he released Beyond the Black Rainbow, which is a movie that visually influenced almost all of the science fiction movies that have come out in the last 10 years.
You should do a video about that, though.
I probably will. And he is actually coming out with a new movie this year, so hey!
It's called Mandy.
It's called Mandy, and I'm glad he's actually getting the critical reception he deserves, because when Beyond the Black Rainbow came out, the critics fucking hated it. And it was weird to me, because it was a great movie. It was a visually beautiful movie. And
this isn't really my kind of movie. I don't like it. 0 out of 10.
It's kind of slow and boring. I don't know. They don't really explain the plot very much, even though the plot is explained through the visuals. They don't use a lot of dialogue in this movie. I don't think I like it. 0 out of 10. It was.
It's funny. It's funny to me when people complain about lack of dialogue. When, script writing, they kind of shit on dialogue writing in general. Like, if you're trying to sell a script, apparently, or get even a writing credit on a movie, if all you do is write dialogue, they basically don't even consider that writing.
Yeah,
which is makes no sense.
Well, and here's the thing with a movie that doesn't use a lot of dialogue, right? This is a film. This is a visual medium. You can tell a story with pictures. It's not writing a book.
Yeah. What was that movie that came out that's still making money?
Fuck.
Silent Hill.
No. the horror movie that was really good.
Python and the Silent Night.
No, not Hereditary. The other one.
Oh no, not Hereditary.
Yeah, I can't remember.
What?
Is it Silence?
Oh no, no, A Quiet Place.
A Quiet Place. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a movie that had no dialogue. People loved it.
they do use a lot of like sign language dialogue in that. But yeah, I mean like no people saying anything.
Fair enough.
Images.
I mean, I wouldn't even say they have a lot of even sign language dialogue.
Oh, yeah, all right, fair enough. But yeah, that is also a very good one of those. Yes. The next one is, so yeah, I'm excited for Mandy. I'm excited for this man's return to film. He's also the guy who basically engineered the whole neon resurgence that we got going on now.
Good.
Thank you, Beyond the Black Rainbow. Thank you.
I'll do this next one since I was the one who posted it.
You liked it.
So the box office hits a record for this period of time, 3.3 billion, because apparently, opposite of how I thought this would go, Jurassic Park is making even more money now.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's so weird to me that like the last Jurassic Park made a fuck ton of money. Like that was like going to be like, holy shit, this is the highest grossing movie of the year until Star Wars came out. But like it was crazy how much money that made, and this is just making all that money in two.
So for Jurassic World, which got pretty middling reviews, I thought, to be making even like I don't think that it made more, but it had strong enough word of mouth to continue making money in its second week to this extent. Like we were talking a while back about the drop off from a different movie. I don't even remember what it was now. But there was a movie that had a huge drop off like in the second week or something, and people were.
I think it was Solo.
Yeah, Solo. That's right. I think it was. They were hoping for it to, make more money through word of mouth. This is like the opposite of how I thought Jurassic World was go. I thought it was good, and it was fun to watch, but I didn't expect it to have, like strong word of mouth into the second week.
Wow.
In addition, Sicario and Uncle Drew both did better than expected as well.
That's
Sicario did 19 million, and Uncle Drew did 15.5 million, which is above their expected rates, especially when you're releasing next to a Pixar movie and Jurassic World.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and Incredibles. Yeah, jeez. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I skipped Sicario 2 because I thought one, I heard it wasn't very good.
Yeah. One of the reviews I saw for it was, when I saw Sicario 1, I thought, if this movie wasn't directed by Denis Villeneuve, it would be trash. Thank you, Sicario 2, for confirming that.
and like, it was a movie that was so tightly wrapped up that it didn't make any sense for a sequel at all. And
also, like, the main character isn't even it.
Yeah, and they changed the main character from, the side main character to him. I don't know. It's just it's odd. It was like a movie that didn't need to exist, and I'm surprised that it does. I mean, I guess I'm happy for them making $19 million in the first week. Like, it's good that their people made money, I guess, but I'm really surprised.
I'm glad Taylor Sheridan made some money. He wrote the movie again. But yeah, it's like the first movie was this almost horror movie about like being a good cop in a world full of horrible, dirty cops who will probably kill you just as much as the Mexican cartels will. And this is like, it removes that like level of has the good cop and focuses purely on the dirty cops.
Yeah.
I was like, what? What the fuck?
Right.
Did we watch the first movie? Like, what's up?
I just don't understand why this movie exists. So
yeah, same. I'm with you there.
And I really liked Sicario 1.
Yeah, Sicario 1 is great. Thank you. Sicario 1 was like this lightning in the bottle of like a bunch of like writers and directors who were like not as big as they are now, but like if this movie were to be released now, it would be like, oh shit, this is some big shit. It's like The Social Network, where you had Denis Villeneuve, the fucking wonder director, working with Taylor Sheridan, this great writer, and shot by Roger Deakins, the cinematographer for Blade Runner 2049,
with a script written by Sorkin.
Yeah. Well, yeah, with basically, yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good thing to mention, because it's like that's another big name on it. So
was Sorkin involved in Sicario 1?
No, Social Network.
Oh yeah. Social Network.
Yeah,
Social
I was saying
Network was like David Fincher, the motherfucker. David Fincher and Andy Sorkin, the motherfucker. Two big heads.
Yeah, I guess I just got confused.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, and Sicario was Denis Villeneuve and fucking Taylor Sheridan. Two working together, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the Denis, so I don't know.
Well,
he's too busy making Dune.
I don't know. Even if you have the same director, like, I just don't see where they could have gone with that story, how they left it. So
yeah.
Plus, I don't like to get into politics, but maybe it's a bad time for this kind of movie anyway.
Maybe
because the first Sicario came sort of before a lot of the drama we're having around immigration right now.
Yeah.
So, having a film that heavily talks about the cartel and that sort of thing, like, in a way that was more appropriate from that time, where now it's like, now we're talking about, like, a hitman who works for the cartel, and it's like...
Yeah. And not only that, but, like, the tones have shifted so entirely differently, where it's like, where it's like, the person we're supposed to, like the character that's supposed to be the character that we react to is the dirty cop, whereas, like, Emily Blunt's character in the first movie was the person we were supposed to, like, you know, really attach with, and she's in this world of fuck assholes.
So I don't know. I think maybe politically that hurt it as well.
So I mean, you know, fiscally, I guess.
Yeah, I'm surprised. That's weird.
Yeah.
Maybe enough people heard about the first Sicario being good that they watched this one too. I don't know.
For like an Oscar, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they were like, oh, Sicario, I recognize that name.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. I don't think this one's going up for the Oscar.
Surprised Uncle Drew made any money at all.
Yeah.
But apparently it did better than expected too. So, you know, that's cool, I guess.
I guess people wanted to go on the weekend before 4th of July weekend and go watch some fucking movies. I guess so. I guess people just got the movie bug in their butt. Okay.
Touching on Uncle Drew, I never would have seen this movie anyway because it looks like a dumb comedy. But man, old people makeup almost always looks bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter like what show or movie or whatever, it almost always looks bad. I don't know.
In this particular situation, like whenever people talk about old movie makeup, I always think of fucking Prometheus. And the dude just stuff in like terrible old movie makeup. And it's like, why didn't you just get a fucking old guy to play them?
Yeah. And Uncle Drew was like a movie about a bunch of people who had old people makeup on. So it just, I looked at it and was like, Yeah. I mean, even Legion did that. They had a scene where they showed like an older version of the main character, and it's like, that just doesn't look good.
Oh yeah, Legion, like the television show that's good. I was thinking of this movie that came out like 10 fucking years ago about like angels coming down and like.
No, I mean even when good shows and movies do it, like it doesn't sit right.
Terrible. Yeah.
I think people almost look too powdery or something, and like they overemphasize the wrinkles. I don't know. It's just,
yeah. It doesn't look natural. It looks like fucking makeup.
Yeah. It's like really noticeable, and maybe part of it's just like when you see someone who doesn't look like how they did in most of the series, then it like you're scrutinize it more. But I don't know.
Yeah.
In Uncle Drew, all the characters are old, and the makeup doesn't look that great, and you know they didn't show them younger, so it's I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
That's all movie stories, right?
Yep, that's it.
Why don't we move into game stories, of which there's a fairly decent amount. This first one's dumb as hell, so I guess we'll start with that. Nintendo. And Smash, I guess. That's an important piece of this. So the Nintendo's office in New York, or the Nintendo store in New York City, had a bomb threat called into it because they removed the kiosks for Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. So someone was like, we're going to blow your store up because you removed these kiosks. And I read the article, it said it was a credible threat, but they were not planning on closing the store. There's not going to be any store outages. So apparently there's just going to be a lot of police there? I don't know. It's pretty weird.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That's pretty fucking dumb, right?
Yeah, come on, guys, come on, listen.
You know what's gonna
can't
happen?
be doing this shit.
You know what's gonna happen? This person who called in this bomb threat is gonna get caught, and then they're gonna be go to jail for fucking 5 years or something, and then they're not gonna get to play Smash. So what are you thinking?
God,
Yeah.
some fuck. The hell?
What do you think that's gonna do? Okay, so like what was your end goal? Like, even if you don't get caught and go to jail, what was your goal?
Well,
to
their
make
end
them bring
goal
back-
was for them to put the kiosks back, I guess, but they
Yeah,
weren't gonna
put
do
the
that.
kiosks back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if they did put the kiosks back, you called in a fucking bomb threat. Like, what? I just
Well,
like they're not gonna put the kiosks back. Worst case scenario, they close the store. Best case scenario, they have police swarming it like they probably do now.
Did you know that my school, like the schools that I went to, had like an annual bomb threat? Like,
Yeah.
like it was like the same time every year someone called in a bomb threat. It was almost like a fucking like tradition. To the point where we were all like, "Oh, it's that time of year again, huh? All right, everyone gets the cafeteria."
Yeah,
Anyway.
but kids do that to their stupid kids do that to their school
Yeah,
to get their
stupid
school
dumbass kids.
get their school closed so they don't have to go to school.
everybody
this-
who calls
this-
in bomb threats are stupid. Let's be real.
Yes, yes,
This was not thought
Yeah.
out. This was just
Yeah.
someone reacting emotionally because they're dumb.
Yeah, straight up. Oh fuck.
Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
Because I don't really want to talk that much more about it. So Valve is coming out with a Steam Spy replacement, but it's going to only be for developers. So one of the things people were saying when Steam Spy was originally removed or whatever was that I think it was only like 2 days before that there was a developer conference where they were where someone from Valve was talking about how useful the information from Steam Spy was, and then like not even a week later or something they made a change. They changed how privacy like settings worked, and that made it so that Steam Spies didn't work anymore. It didn't function anymore, and it still does not function at this point, I believe. The thing is, though, that so Valve did want to have this better analytics for game developers, so that's why they're making this for developers only, because they want their developers to have it. Part of the reason they didn't like Steam Spy was because publishers on Steam's platform were complaining about it like endlessly, because people would come in to meetings with them with information pulled from Steam Spy and used it as like an authority for general metrics. So they used this information to try to negotiate deals, which the publishers really didn't like, because they didn't want people to have information about whatever they were trying to negotiate.
Well, fuck them. People deserve information.
Sure, fuck them, and I agree with you, and it's really dumb, but like I could see why Valve might want to try to keep publishers happy. I don't think they should in this situation, but I could see why they would do this. Unfortunately, this also means that journalists and stuff, and even direct consumers, won't have access to this tool to do things like check metrics for how often, like games have, like how many players a game has, like total owners of a game, how well something's sold, so they can make have a general idea of how popular something is. Like this takes a lot of tools away from the consumer, and kind of protects the publishers, which is really unfortunate. I'm sure that there will be some developer or some journalists who are able to get into this like Steam Spy thing, because there are probably quite a few people who kind of double dip on being a journalist and being a developer. I would not be surprised if there were a decent number of people like that, or people who could find a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that like we might get stuff out of like IGN and Kotaku through Steam Spy, but we like us and other mainstream people and consumers probably won't have access to this tool anymore. And when asked about it in this Destructoid article, they kind of basically blamed GDPR over it, but I really don't think that was the case. GDPR was that thing that made everyone update their privacy policies.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
They blamed this change on GDPR when they have more sensitive information shown than the games you own. So it's just like the other issue with it is sometimes there were games that were wildly inaccurate. For instance, any game that had a free-to-play weekend basically was unreliable because it would show more people having played a game before than owned it.
Right.
Yeah.
So there were some issues with Steam Spy, and you had to take those into account. But either way, like, you can't. I don't know. Like, Steam doesn't want it, and it's their analytics, and what can you do?
Right.
Yeah.
Because really, Steam Spy was like a glorified scraper anyway.
Yeah.
So, better or worse, it's gone.
Yeah.
More worse than better, but
Yeah.
Talking about sales, remember that Crash Bandicoot game?
Yeah. You mean all three of them?
Yeah, all three of them. Well,
That one.
the
that
Insane
one that was all
Trilogy,
three
yeah.
of them, Yeah.
Yeah.
It came out on Switch recently, and now it is top of the UK sales charts
And PC.
for June. Well,
Take it on PC?
well, it's on top of the UK sales charts anyway.
Okay.
So I don't know. That was just a thing. I don't know. Somehow that seemed relevant because it was on top of the UK sales charts forever and ever on other consoles, and then the Switch version comes out and it gets right back to the top. So people really like Crash Bandicoot.
Like Crash Bandicoot. People always have. It's a fucking gaming icon. Mario versus Sonic? Fuck that. Remember Spyro versus Crash Bandicoot?
Yeah. Those were days.
When is Crash Bandicoot going to be in Smash?
Whoa.
Whoa.
All right.
Anyway.
He can't be in Smash because he's in Super Sony Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think I think Sony didn't own any of those characters anyway.
I think they own Crash Bandicoot.
Sony don't own Activision. Activision owns Crash Bandicoot.
Really?
Activision owns Naughty Dog.
That's why it's on Switch now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't think I think either Insomniac still has it or that other company who did Skylanders owns Spyro. Naughty Dog owns
you know what?
Jack and Daxter, but I don't think even they're not technically a Sony like they work exclusively with Sony, but they're not technically a Sony company.
Sony, like they're not owned by Sony.
Right.
Yet.
There were a few people that were owned by Sony. There was like Cole and Parappa the Rapper for some reason, Sly Cooper, Sackboy.
Sly Cooper isn't. Sly Cooper is also agnostic.
Really?
That
I don't
one's
know if any of those are owned by Sony.
Oh, Sackboy definitely is owned by Sony.
So Sackboy is, yeah.
Fucking undeniably.
And I think Parappa is too, because that's a random like old one. But I think most of the main ones, I think like Jack and Daxter probably isn't. Well, maybe because Naughty Dog isn't owned by them, but I don't think they would ever move their stuff over.
Right.
But anyway, like, I don't know. It's cool to see Crash Bandicoot doing well. It's $40, so I might pick it up on Switch.
Yeah, I mean that's 3 fucking games. I probably, well, not I. My dad probably paid $40 for the Crash Bandicoot 1.
Yeah.
So, speaking of crossover fighting games, you like that segue? That was a good segue.
Yeah.
Jump Force announced that they're adding Ichigo, Rukia, and Aizen from Bleach.
For all 5 of you that enjoy Bleach, still.
Bleach is okay. I remember trying to watch it again and going, "Wow, this did not age very well." But it's okay. It was an okay thing. And Bleach is actually like insanely popular, like way more popular in Japan than it is here.
Yeah. So I can't wait to see Roronoa Zoro stab Goku with a sword, and Goku being like, "Oh no!"
You mean Kenpachi Zaraki?
Sure, whoever that is.
Kenpachi Zaraki was like the dude who didn't have like his sword didn't transform. He really was just like so strong that he beat everyone up with a normal sword.
Oh.
Like unlike everyone else, he didn't even have powers. Basically, he just was a fucking dude with a sword.
Yeah, like Zoro.
But no, Ichigo, Rukia, and Aizen are like the 3 main characters of Bleach. So I don't know. Like that's cool. That brings me hope that we'll get some more than one character from Yu Yu Hakusho if we're lucky.
Maybe.
I mean, they might do the 4 main characters, right? They might do Yusuke, Kuwabara. I couldn't remember the first half of his name. Kurama and Hiei. Like I could see them bringing those 4 characters because if they're doing the 3 main characters from Bleach, they might as well do the 4 main characters from Yu Yu Hakusho. Yeah. Plus, Yu Yu Hakusho is like also and, like it's not as popular now because it's not ongoing, but it was like insanely popular at the time. So
yeah.
So, remember when we were talking about Westworld and how that Bethesda, they ripped off Fallout Shelter from Bethesda?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll write Warner Bros.
Warner Brothers.
So, Warner Bros. Claims that Bethesda's allegations are untrue and they're baseless accusations. They say that they didn't steal the code, and it's all unsubstantiated. And that Warner Brothers has a deep respect for IP rights, and they wouldn't do this.
You have a deep respect for IP rights when it's your own fucking shit. I know that. I still watch all your movies. You got that anti-piracy shit on your thing. Bitch, you fucked up. Sing the music, motherfucker. Bethesda's coming for your ass.
What's happening here is they have to say this because otherwise they would, if they admit it, then they're gonna get sued to all hell, and there's nothing that's gonna stop Bethesda from just taking him to court and getting everything they want. What they're trying to do is they're denying it so that they can go to Bethesda and be like, okay, we know that we did this.
Listen, we want to make a deal,
but let's not go to court, and we'll just pay you money. This is what's happening right now. This is the dance, right?
Yeah,
it's just funny as hell to see.
Todd walks into the conference room. Gentlemen, remember when I told you that they stole our code for Fallout Shelter? Yes, Overlord Todd. Well, now they're denying it. Oh no. Which means they're ready to settle!
Todd collides into the conference room. Todd descends from the sky.
Thank goodness.
Dying immediately upon impact with the ground.
Ragdolling everywhere.
Ragdolling everywhere, going back to the sky where he lands into fucking the Warner Brothers office like a Gary's Mod Machinima.
So maybe this is a little bit out of order, but we're going to talk about some sales again, especially on the Switch.
Oh boy.
Our boy Hollow Knight sold 250,000 sales in its first 2 weeks on the Switch.
Yeah.
Good.
I looked at it and it was in the top 5, I think, on Nintendo's eShop.
I'm sure.
When I saw it.
Yeah.
I thought about buying it, but I was like, maybe I have access to it on PC. Maybe I should actually play it first and see if I even want it on Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All you Switch Hollow boys and Hollow girls.
So all you Switch Hollow boys who are gonna give this video more views because it will have Hollow Knight in the tags.
Hollow Knight, yeah.
This one's for you.
We love you.
Thanks for the views, bitches.
I hope you didn't come here for Hollow Knight news because this is all you get.
That's
They
the
sold,
only
they
news.
sold some money.
I mean, it's great because the fucking 250,000 sales, and then there's like $40 a piece, and there's only 2 dudes to split it between. Those guys are richer than Bill Gates. Definitely.
I think there's still 3. I still think Team Cherry is 3 people.
Okay, well they might have to
4 if you count
have
the
to kill
composer,
one of
but
their
I don't think
developers.
that was probably
Might
commissioned.
have to cannibalize one of their developers.
That reminds me when people were trying to figure out how much money that Stardew Valley developer has now.
Yeah.
Because he sold a ton of money, or he's made a ton of money just on the Steam release, the initial Steam release.
Yeah.
Who knows what it is with Switch? He probably gets less from Switch because he outsourced to have it ported, I think. But...
Right. I'm sure that when he looks at his giant pile of money, he momentarily forgets about the things that are concerning him.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope he can buy
that poor concerned ape.
I hope he can buy away the things that are that have concerned him, and he's no longer. I hope so.
Famous Stardew Valley developer Ape.
Mm-hmm.
Content
Regular
Ape.
Rich Ape.
Rich Ape. Oh.
All right.
Okay, so
Is that?
it looks like Hollow Knight was 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
3 people were the developers of it. There was a musician, and then there was also a guy who does PR, marketing, testing, and translation.
Yeah.
So there's 5 people.
All right. Good work, guys. You did a good job. You made a good video game.
They're from Australia.
They sure are.
I did not see one goddamn drop bear in all of Hollow Knight.
They're fucking grinding your games is putting them to shame.
So that's about all we got for this week. Why don't we talk about some stuff we have coming up, and then we'll head out.
Okay.
So, Thel, do you have any videos coming up? What's going on?
I fucking no idea. I'm gonna be real. I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. I'll probably have a video out at the regular time, but I don't know what it's gonna be yet.
Did something come out just now? Did you just come out with a video? I forget.
Yeah, I had the Vampire video came out
right.
Friday.
So the Vampire video is out, so if you have not watched that yet, go ahead and watch that. It's actually pretty funny.
Say hi to Dr. Gunn for me.
Yeah.
Dr. Gunn is my favorite character.
Yes.
Dr. Julian Vampire, as starring. I said that out of order.
Yeah. You tried.
So I heard some people talking about it and about Vampire again, and they were saying that like you can kill so many people in that game that the whole area is just has no one in it.
Yes, you absolutely can.
So if you really want to go like deep into it, you can just kill everyone.
Yeah, I almost feel like the game would be slightly more fun that way than the way that I played it.
I don't know. Like I think the game was kind of funny in that because you were talking about this a little bit too, but I saw kind of a different perspective on the same thing. Like the game is constantly telling you not to like kill people and that you're a doctor and you don't want to do all this, but
yeah, and that the game will be harder if you don't.
Right. And you didn't have too much trouble with the game, but I was hearing the kind of difficulty curve goes up and up and up over time, and that eventually, like, it's really hard to get through certain parts if you haven't killed anyone.
Right.
So I feel like maybe the idea is you just kill the people you don't like.
Yeah.
So that just seems funny to me.
It's like there are some people who are like, this guy's an asshole. I probably should kill him.
Killing is always easier.
Yeah, so that came out...
Killing is easier than healing.
So that Vampire video came out last Monday.
Yeah, last Friday.
Friday, that's what I meant. Last Friday. Today is Monday.
Today is Monday.
It used to come out on Monday, which is why I got confused.
Yeah. Switched up.
Which is why I always ask you if you have a video coming out this week when.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was 3 days ago, but that already feels like fucking forever ago.
Yeah, same. That's crazy.
Seems normal to
It's
me.
weird because the rest of the week went by really fast for me.
All right, Dalsson, what do you got coming up on your channel? Or Still doing
Which
some
is
more
great.
Oddsworld.
I'm probably gonna finish Stranger's Wrath and Haimrik, and past that I don't really know. I'll probably update you next week on that.
All right. So I think that's it for us this week.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us, and remember, as always,
Stay beautiful.